What's going on, everybody? Jamel Gibbs here. Welcome to the Deal Pro podcast. Here again with my man Anthony Rushing. Today, we're going to talk about a hypothetical situation where, let's say, I was to borrow some money on one of my deals, and we're going to talk about how borrowing funds can actually cost you more money than if you were borrowing from yourself, if you were your own bank using a first lien HELOC. My man Anthony Rushing, what's up, brother?
Hey man, how are you? I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. Likewise. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? I know you've been on the podcast.
Yep,
You're actually
yep.
a frequent guest at this point, and we're quickly becoming business partners as well in certain
Yep.
things. But
Love it.
why don't you tell for those people who don't know you, just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yep. My name's Anthony Rushing. I'm a loan officer. I'm a sales manager of our team at First Savings Bank. We specialize in first lien HELOCs. We specialize in teaching people how to use it, to leverage this particular mortgage product to help them achieve their goals, whether that's to aggressively pay off their home, whether it's to use equity to leverage for future wealth building. It's a product that people hear HELOCs and they kind of know what they are. And we know how this particular loan works extremely well. So we just leverage the rules of this loan to treat it differently than, common knowledge will call it, to help people leverage the way that it works. And so for the right person, when this particular product, when its functionality can support what people are trying to do in their lifestyle, it can help really propel them toward really a different and much better future than they could with an amortized mortgage. So that's really what we do. First Savings Bank has first lien HELOC that we built specifically for this strategy and for the different strategies that we teach. Firstlienheloc.com is a separate entity that functions as a free educational resource to help people learn about the different ways to use this and leverage it. The main pitch is pay off your home in 5 to 7 years. When it works, those are results that we usually see. It can help people pay off their homes really quickly too. So yeah, that's who I am, I guess, and kind of what we do. And yeah, I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, man, me too, brother. So I know that obviously, you've been on the channel a lot. DeAndre's been on the channel a lot.
Yep.
We've done a ton of content together. And one of the scenarios that frequently come up is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's just say, for example, I have a flip that I'm working on right now, and I needed to borrow $20,000 with the intentions on paying back $20,000 plus the $5,000 in profit. So $25,000 in total.
So you need to borrow $20,000 for part of the project or for the project for the rehab,
Mhm.
and you're going to pay $5,000
$5,000, yeah,
to borrow that money.
which is a lot of money. But when you're looking for speed, sometimes you pay the premium for the
So
speed
this is money that you need right now or
right now.
tomorrow. Got it.
Right
Okay.
now.
Yeah,
So
makes
I'm an
sense.
investor. I need to borrow $20,000 to complete a rehab, and I
And
am willing to
that's
pay.
why is that why the premium of $5,000 would be necessary? We'll call it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Because
it's
you could go if we're talking like a long-term project, you could go to a bank
Mhm.
and you wouldn't pay that, right? But now you're talking 30 days, something like
I'm
that.
talking. I need the money by tomorrow.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
Right? So you're gonna pay a premium anywhere you go, and you know this. You'll pay a premium for something like that. So
Right.
how would borrowing funds like that and paying that premium? Yeah, you're gonna have access to the money. You still may benefit from it. You're still gonna make a huge profit on the other side. But how can you save money if this was a first lien HELOC type of scenario?
So um, how long are you holding them? How long are you paying? What's the holding time for that?
Say 30 to 60 days.
Okay. So let's say 60 days, right? So 2 months,
Mhm.
right? So you're paying $2,500 per month
Mhm.
in interest, we'll call it, to borrow the money. So if I do that real quick, $2,500 per month. So 20,000 divided by 2,500. 2,500 divided by 20,000. So that's 12.5 times 12. So that's 1.5. If we build that out, right, $2,500 a month, 25 times 12 is 300 bucks. So 2,500 times 12 is 30,000. So essentially, if you were to build that out for the whole year,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a $30,000 charge interest cost for a $20,000 amount, which is 1.5% per year annually, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of interest, right? But again, when you're in a bind, this is the kind of thing that you got to eat that, because the people that have an appetite for immediately providing money, right, usually expect some sort of premium like that.
Right.
So that's going to cost you $5,000 to borrow 20 grand for 2 months, right?
And
So one thing about
these are your hard money lenders. These are your private money lenders. These are your
yep,
SoFi. These are all of these banks that's willing to give you all of this money in 24 hours.
in 24
Right.
hours,
Just,
exactly, right?
just for clarity. Okay. Because
So that's what we're talking about. So this is an easy answer for me, um, because one thing with the first lien HELOC, that is a reality, is that you've got a limit on your first lien HELOC, which is established by the loan to value, and once you get it, then you also have your balance. And
mm-hmm.
so let's say your limit on your first lien HELOC is 300,000, and your balance is 200,000. At that very point in time, you have from the $200,000 balance up to the $300,000 limit available to you immediately. So again, now we're talking about immediate funds. So this is money that you have access to immediately. So whether it's 20, 40, 60, $100,000, if you need it, you can access immediately. Well, the interest rate that you pay, at least right now with our first lien HELOCs at First Savings Bank, is about 8.6%. It's a variable rate product. It changes. The way that it calculates the rate is it looks at the 6-month treasury bill and adds a margin of 3.75. Right now, that puts the rate at about 8.6. So if
Mm-hmm.
I do some quick math, right, $20,000 at 8.6% would be an annual cost of $1,720. Okay. So that's for the whole year at 8.6%. So now I'm going to divide that by 12 to figure out a monthly interest cost. It's 143 bucks per month. And so we got 2 months holding costs, right? So I'm going to multiply that by 2. So with a first lien HELOC, you could get that $20,000. You're borrowing from yourself, right? You're borrowing from the equity in your home. You get the $20,000. You do the deal. You do the rehab that you need. You need the money immediately. You have immediate access to it. You take care of what you need to do. You hold the money, right, for 2 months, which costs you $286, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the money back in the HELOC, which pays it right back down to where it was before. So if we're comparing the cost of borrowing money, right, for these two scenarios, I've got one that cost me $5,000 and one that cost me $286, right, which saves you 4,700 bucks, 4,713, right? That is a huge savings when it comes to getting deals done and needing access to immediate funds. I mean, we're talking about, both serve the same purpose of, I need money now. Where am I going to get money from, right? And so one thing I always say is that the first lien HELOC is a great place to achieve different goals. It's also just another source of capital, along with all the ones you already have now, right? And so,
Right.
with all the multiple sources of capital that you have access to, you've got your hard money, you've got your private lenders, you've got your bank, you've got your SoFis, those kind of things. Then you've got this first lien HELOC. Out of all those, that gives you an extra place to decide, is this the best option for me to use or not? Without it, you don't even have the option. So now you're looking, at least in this particular scenario, where you need funds today or within 24 hours, um, it gives you a place that gives you immediate access to funds that are in your sorry, excuse me. It gives you immediate access to funds in a amount that you may not have access to otherwise, and it gives you a place to store funds too, which we can talk about as well, that can offset your cost while they sit there. And I think that's so. All in all, it's a really great source for immediate access to funds at an amount that you can't get anywhere else, and it's really competitive when we're comparing to your hard money lenders, your private lenders, your SoFis, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, man. So what I was going to add to that was simple fact that the reason why you're going to pay that much interest is because you don't have to qualify for it, right? So this is, for example, if I went to Anthony and said, "Hey, I need $20,000, I'm willing to pay you the $5,000." Chances are Anthony's not going to run my credit. Anthony's not worrying about my, we're basing this off of a relationship basis.
we're
Um,
assuming Anthony has $20,000
we're
to
assuming
give you.
Anthony had $20,000.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if
No,
I if
that,
I
that
knew if I knew Anthony had $20,000, let's just
yeah,
say,
yep,
as a friend, I'm going to him and I'm saying, "Hey, I need this, and I'm willing to pay you back this." The qualifying process is going to be completely different than if you
that's
were
right,
to go through a bank, right? So that's why
100%.
you can get the money cheaper through a bank for sure, but when you need the money immediately, you're going to pay that premium. What
Yep,
a HELOC allows you to do, yeah, you're going to qualify for the HELOC, but once you qualify for it, you could skip all of those steps. It's like going to the friend who has the money, except
go on
you're
your
going
friend.
to yourself. You know what I
That's right.
mean?
And
And
at,
you're
that point, you're the friend,
right.
and you're not paying a monster premium to have access to that much capital.
Hmm.
Um, this can go the wrong way. I mean, we're not talking about going and buying a Raptor or like, a new, this is, in terms of this particular purpose, it's really more about using it to invest, right? Or using it to help you with a flip. Or if you have an immediate need and you have an opportunity that you need to get to right now, whether it's a flip, whether it's an investment opportunity, whether it's a business opportunity as well, it gives you that immediate access. Now you have to have available equity in it too, right?
Right.
If your HELOC is maxed out, then obviously it's a different conversation because you don't have access to the funds. So as you pay the balance down on your HELOC, you maintain that available limit, we'll call it. And so as you pay it down, it actually increases the amount that you have access to. And so that's another piece of this as well. Um, when if when you okay, on average, when you sell one of your homes, right? If let's say it's a flip and not a buy and hold,
Hmm.
when you sell it, this may be a tough answer because I know you're looking for deals, not necessarily price point. But what's a general amount that you walk away with after that?
Depends. I like to make between 50 and $100,000. So I generally like to make between 12 and 15% on a flip based on the ARV. So if I'm buying a house for, let's say, 500,000, I'm looking for 50,000 plus
Okay,
profit margin.
so
If
let's
it,
let's say
mhm,
let's say you got 50 grand, right?
mhm.
And are you are you borrowing money to acquire these properties?
I am, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
borrow hard money. I borrow private funds.
got it.
Lines of credit, all kinds of stuff.
So we're borrowing funds. We finance the purchase and the rehab, and then we have to pay back the creditors, and then we end up with fifty
Hmm.
thousand dollars
Hmm.
in the end, right?
Yep.
Where are you putting that money? Where are you storing it? What vehicle are you storing it in?
Either the bank, either another property, or it just depends. Nine
So
times
like
out of 10, going into another property.
okay, so you're flipping that
Mhm.
money fast enough. Do you have money stored in a savings account or a checking account?
Yeah,
Okay. What does it do? What does the money do for you while it sits there?
accumulate a very small amount of interest.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair. Um,
Which is not the smartest thing, and I definitely understand that. You know what I
well,
mean?
it's okay. It's okay because you either put it in a place that accumulates interest, right? You could put it in a place that it does nothing for you, right? If it's in a checking account, checking accounts, at least the ones I have, don't generally generate interest. High yield savings accounts will. Um,
Savings account.
high yield savings accounts, right?
Yeah,
Um, or you put it into something else that's going to generate interest for you, or you can put it into a place that offsets interest
yeah.
costs.
So
And
so what I was gonna say about that was, and just to be clear about that, I don't keep a lot of money in the bank. I keep enough. I keep enough to cover my expenses for maybe 2 years,
mhm,
and everything else, if I have any
yeah,
expenses, because I keep enough just to live for 2 years. So if something were to happen, I got 2 years worth of money in the bank where I'm set,
that's
right?
smart. Yep,
After that, everything else goes into more investments.
yep,
So if I'm
understood.
being clear about that, that's kind of where the money goes. So like I don't keep, a tremendous amount. I don't keep millions of dollars in the bank. I think
Your
that's
money's working for you somewhere
money
else.
is
Right.
always working for me. Yeah.
So let's talk about those 2 years. Let's talk about those 2 years worth of
Expense.
reserves that we'll call that you
Hmm.
don't touch.
Reserves.
Let's say well, we can assume, and I don't know about your holding costs for your household, we'll call it, but let's say it's 10 grand a month. Okay,
Hmm.
so 2 years that'd be 24 grand.
Hmm.
Nope, nope, 240,000. Right.
140,000.
So if we're assuming that you got 240,000 sitting in a place that generates a very small amount of interest. One cool thing with the first lien HELOC as well is not only is it a place for you to borrow from if you need immediate access or just access to funds in general, but it's also a place for you to store money in a place that works for you at a pretty high rate as well. Right now, high yield savings accounts, the highest I've heard is like 4%, but I would argue probably closer to 2% for ones that
Hmm.
really perform well, um, which is fine. So if I'm talking, 240,000 times 2% is 4,800 bucks. So it
Hmm.
helps you. It generates $4,800 while it sits there. It improves your bottom line by $4,800, right? Well, if you were to store that money in a first lien HELOC, it would reduce your balance by 240,000. The cool thing is with the first lien HELOC is it charges based on the balance every day, right? So the interest is charged daily based on the daily balance. So if I do some quick math, right, $240,000 times again 8.6%, right? That saves you $20,000 a year
Mm.
by sitting in just by having your money sit in a different financial vehicle. That's it. It saves you 20 grand a year. So now we're talking about the example before where it saves you 4,700 bucks over 2 months, right? And as compared to borrowing from somewhere else. But now we're talking about storage. Where are you storing your funds? Well, by storing your funds in here, it can actually offset your interest cost each month for
Mhm.
your family by roughly it's 20,640, right? By roughly 20,000 bucks a year as
Mm.
well. Um, I don't know people that don't want to save money. Um, but again, this is just a really great example of the flexibility of what this product can do and what it can offer.
So let me ask you this, bro. So how long do these aren't lifetime vehicles?
They're
These
not.
those in.
Nope.
So how long will you usually have this HELOC for?
So it's a 10-year draw period. So it
Mhm.
functions for 10 years as a HELOC. then the functionality flips to an amortized principal and interest payment that facilitates the pay down during that time.
Mhm.
Most people, even if it's paid to zero, most people are still refinancing into another first lien HELOC
That's what I mean.
before that 10-year mark. And so it's one of those things where although the draw period's 10 years, what I find is people automatically tell themselves, oh, it's only for 10 years. Well, it's really not.
Mm.
It can actually, you can extend it as long as you can keep qualifying, right? Every 10 years, you just re up for another 10-year draw period. So now you've got this financial vehicle that you can leverage at the drop of a hat at a rate that is much lower than any premium you'd pay somewhere else. You've got a place where you can store funds and your money works for you while they're stored here, better than other storage vehicles, we'll call it. We haven't even talked about the velocity banking piece just because that's not really the purpose of this particular video.
A
But
whole other podcast right there, man.
yeah, I mean, it also gives you a place to pay down the balance really quickly as well. And so, for the right person, it can fill a lot of gaps in what people are trying to accomplish in a way that other things just don't, and they just can't.
I had an interesting question come up on my channel,
Mhm.
and the person was saying, "Hey, my house is paid off right
Okay.
now," and I kind of wanted to spin this off into a whole nother podcast, but we might as well talk about it right here.
Yeah.
So my house is paid off. Does it make sense to pull a first lien HELOC on my house? I know the answer to this, but how would you address that question?
Well, for one, it's important to know who you're talking to. Like,
Mhm.
I'm pretty biased. I have a shirt that says like First Lien HELOC. One of my email addresses is anthony@firstlienheloc.com. So like they're it's important to know who you're talking to, but um, there's definitely a value in getting a first lien HELOC on
Mhm.
a property if it's completely paid off. At the most basic level, if you open a first lien HELOC, it gives you access to money in the form of equity, right? It gives you access to a security vehicle that you don't have access to otherwise. You may have other security vehicles, but it gives you an additional vehicle of access to funds. So from the most basic level, it provides an emergency fund that you don't have otherwise. We're talking one, two, three, $400,000 of access to emergency fund that you don't have otherwise. That to me is extremely valuable. I've been in a I've been in a place where I didn't have um, I didn't have anything to fall back on, right?
Mhm.
And it was really scary, and I know the way that I reacted to that, and it wasn't great. I need to grow and get better with that. At the same time, I promised myself and my family that we would never get to that position again, because now you're in defense mode. Now you're in, now it's like I need to live as compared to I need to build, and so completely different mindset. So at the very least, now I have access, and it's not my money, right? But I have access to an amount that if something goes wrong, kind of like with you, I've got about, I don't have 2 years, but I got about a year and a half, right? Of guaranteed our family will be okay financially for me to
Mhm.
fall back on. We don't lead with that. That's not like the main purpose of this, but it is a reality that when you get into one of these, the available equity, becomes something for you to be able to fall back on if life happens and life is tough.
Life can definitely get tough,
I
man.
sure can.
And let me tell you this, bro. So this is kind of not the scope of this podcast, but since we're talking about it, I've been there on a number of occasions.
Yep.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And like you, I promised myself and my family we were never going to be in that position again. And you can never say never because you never know what's actually going to happen. But
You're right.
what you can do is be proactive
Yep.
and put yourself in a position to not be in that situation by
That's right.
making smarter decisions.
Yep.
And that's what today's podcast is all about. You
Yep.
know, we can have access to the money in 24 hours, but what if you had the first lien HELOC to
Right.
help save you money? That's being proactive, making smarter decisions with
That's
your
right.
finances in order to be able to put yourself in a better position. Right?
100%. 100%. And so I completely agree. And there are situations where the first thing HELOC may not be the best choice.
Hmm.
If it's not the best choice, then don't choose it.
So
Right.
let's talk about that.
Okay.
What would make a first lien HELOC a not so I don't like to say a bad choice, but a not so great choice?
Or what other options might be better? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's run a scenario. Um, let's talk about the different options. Okay, so we've got bank money, right? Bank money is going to be, well, cheaper, we'll call it, right, than 8.6%. In what scenario would it make sense to use bank money, right? It takes a little while to get, right? So what types, in your experience, Jamel, what types of real estate opportunities allow for you to have a 30-day timeline before you buy? Are
What
there
do you,
are there any?
what do you mean by
'Cause
that?
so if you're going to finance the purchase of a home,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can do it a lot of different ways. You got hard money, which is faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go to a bank and get qualified. You can try and get qualified. You can DSCR loan, which will fund the purchase of a project that you've got coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bank money is going to be less expensive, but it takes more time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, are there scenarios where you're buying a house, a flip, or a real estate investment, something that you have identified as an opportunity that's going to profit, right? That you have a timeline of 30 days to go through the origination, underwriting, all that kind of stuff. Are there scenarios that are like that?
At this point in my business, I really don't have that problem, to be honest with you, man,
Yep.
because I do 95 to, majority of my cash transactions are all done through private funds. So like I
Got
have
it.
lenders that will just stroke a check and I'll be closed in
Makes
30
sense.
days,
So,
and
so
that's based on experience. That's based on relationship experience.
right,
I know what I'm doing. As a beginning real estate investor, most people are going to be using hard money loans.
right.
Um, with those types of loans, you will have to get an appraisal done, which is the bulk of the timeline.
Yep.
You will have to provide a contractor's estimate if you're rehabbing a house.
Got it.
And those two things, some hard money lenders ask for a minimum of a 620 credit score, but
Hmm.
if they're true asset based lenders, they're not even asking for that.
Yep.
And they just want to make sure you have enough in the bank to be able to cover your costs,
Got
right?
it.
To pay your points and things like that, closing costs and stuff like that. So, um,
So, so we can argue that for real estate investing, generally speaking, going to a bank and getting a loan and have it take 30 days, that probably will not be an option that would be better than, let's say, a first lien HELOC for this particular scenario, right?
Honestly,
So,
I think in this particular scenario, first lien HELOC, and almost every scenario that I could think of, like right now, I have two flips going on, right?
mhm.
On the same street, and right next door, I'm picking up a 8 unit, literally right next door to the flip that I'm about to make $250,000 on. Um, there's an 8 unit apartment complex that I'm going to be picking up. I was
Okay.
at my orthodontist the other day, just getting checked out with my Invisaligns and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
don't know if you knew, but I had braces, but I had it, I had them from 2017 to 2019. Then I wear retainers
Mm-hmm.
every night. And while I was at the orthodontist, this is the importance of telling everybody what you do, guys. But while I was at the orthodontist, I told this lady, look, I'm flipping these couple of houses. I got a lot of flips going on, but in this particular neighborhood, I got two on the same street. You guys have been seeing the videos on YouTube, yada yada yada. But um, while I was talking to her, I said, I own this house. It's in a historic district of this particular area, and she said, I actually know the owner who I know somebody who owns an apartment complex right on that street. I said, if it's the same, it's the only apartment complex on that street. If it's the same one, I have my eye on that because I own the house literally right next door,
Mm-hmm.
like to the left of it. And then I go there, and this was a couple of weeks ago. Today I go back just to get another checkup, and she's like, "Oh, forgot to tell you, I spoke to the lady that I know because she said she knew the owners, and I said if they want to sell, let me know. I'm interested in buying." So this is the seed that I planted a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Small world, man. Long story short, today I go back. She said I spoke to the person. They are actually interested. They're motivated to sell right now. She literally used those words, motivated to sell. She's getting up there in age. She just wants to cash out.
Yeah.
And that was my green light. So I got the phone number right here in my pocket.
That's
And as soon as
awesome.
we're done with this podcast, I'm going to be calling. But that's the importance of telling everybody what you do,
Yep.
because you never know where your business is actually going to come from. And in that scenario, I can do seller financing. I
Yep.
can pull cash to be able to close the deal, going back to your point.
Yep.
Or if I had the first lien HELOC situation, I could just use that to
You
be
could
able to
use
buy
that.
things cash.
So I think one piece is that you are your own bank. So
Hmm.
essentially, you're borrowing from yourself, which there's a mindset and an understanding of borrowing using other people's money too, right? I could make the argument that if that's your philosophy to use other people's money, OPM, right? Whether it's hard money, whether it's private money lenders, that would create a level of separation.
Hmm.
Um, when you borrow from your first lien HELOC, it can feel more personal as compared to borrowing from someone else. The reality is you're borrowing the bank's money, just so it's tied to your equity in the house, so it
Still
feels more
somebody
personal.
else's money.
Exactly right, but it's you're borrowing the bank's money secured by your real estate, so you're still using other people's money. It's immediate and it's at a lower rate than your hard money guys will be.
Hmm.
Um, but if we're going to think about or propose situations where other vehicles would be better, right? If you don't want to have it feel like you're borrowing from yourself, if you don't want to feel like you're the bank, then I could see going to a hard money lender and borrowing to do that would be better. But even then, you're looking at, I don't know what you're paying, but 10, 11%, sometimes a point on the front, sometimes a
Hmm.
point on the back. So it's definitely more expensive to borrow the money through a hard money lender than it would be on a first lien HELOC.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're paying those points up front. They don't even take points on the back
Oh,
most of the time.
wow.
So, you know, over the years, I've never used any of my own money to actually buy real estate unless I'm holding on to the properties. Right. So like when I do a flip, I don't want to put that cash in the bank. I want to use that money to make more money. Right.
Yep.
So I'll put that money into an Airbnb or a multi-unit, whatever the case may be. Right.
Yeah.
Um, in order to actively make money, I'm always using somebody else's money.
Yep.
So in 24 years I've been doing this, I've never used any of my own money to actually buy real estate that I'm going to make
Yep.
money on.
Yep.
Right. Um, over the last couple of years, since I've been, in contact with you, we're becoming really good friends. And
Yep.
DeAndre kind of helping me understand the infinite banking side of things as well. I'm seeing how having a first lien HELOC is it should be the primary source of funding, because yes, you're borrowing money from
About time,
yourself.
Jamel. About time. I just gotta say.
Huh?
No,
No,
I
I'm seeing it.
well. Here's the thing. It's a different mindset, right? And it is foreign to a lot of people, and that's fair. I get it, and that's the challenge that I have day in day out is to present this. No, it's not even a product. It's sort of a philosophy or a mindset that is just different,
Yeah,
um, and it comes with a lot of skepticism. It comes with a lot of too good to be true. Why haven't I heard about this? Those kind of things,
man.
um, and that's fine, and that's the
Yeah.
reality of it. And so there's a progression that people go through, sort of a development,
Hmm.
who are interested in learning about this. That first they hear about it, and then they aren't sure if it's true, and then they want to sort of sometimes, if the personality is the right personality, they want to challenge themselves a little bit to see, or they want to try and find the holes in it. The reality is, if you don't cash flow, if you don't make more money than you spend, it doesn't work. And that's the main, they're like, well, it doesn't work for most people because most people don't live below their means. Well, I agree with that, right? 100%. That's the thing, right?
Hmm.
But if you cash flow, right, and if you make more money than you spend, then all the stuff that we talk about is at your fingertips, and it's
Hmm.
true because it just follows a certain rule set. It just works a certain way, and that doesn't change. So we work within those rules. Um, but but yeah, I could see for you how it could be valuable if you were to use it in the way that is the best way to leverage the way that it works.
I think I can save a tremendous amount of money, but I could create exponentially more wealth by using the first lien HELOC to be able to, operate my real
Well,
estate
well,
investment.
you're paying 250 for 20 grand over 2 months instead of $5,000. I mean, that's just one. That's just like one particular example, right, of different
Mhm.
ways that people can save money with this, and we could go through a bunch of different,
Yep.
example scenarios that, show the same thing. Are you borrowing 50 grand? Are you borrowing 5,000? Are you borrowing 100,000? How much do you need? You got to have access to it. You have to have the available line in your
Hmm.
HELOC, right?
Yep.
It's not an infinite amount. So that's one piece of it, which is that if you have 9 deals that all come to your plate, right? The first lien HELOC can be the best option compared to the others up to a
Hmm.
certain point. But now, if you need more money, now you got to go to your hard money lenders. And if all those 9 deals, if all of them, there's enough meat on the bone and they make sense, they'll sign off on it. Or you probably know better than I do, but there's a high likelihood that they'll sign off as long as there's enough meat on the bone for the deal that you find.
And going back to your point, man, like I said, I've always used other people's money to buy real estate,
Yep,
but using a first lien HELOC is still using other people's money.
it is.
You're borrowing, like you said, you're borrowing the bank's money against your home, your equity in your home. That's all
That's
you're
right.
doing. It's still other
Yep,
people's money,
it's
right?
still other
So
people's money, and
it
I've
just,
done the same thing.
mhm.
I've pulled from my first lien HELOC, and I pay interest on the money that I borrow from the bank, secured by my real estate.
Mhm.
But as long as I'm making more interest on the investment that I'm making elsewhere, it's a win. It's a
Yep.
win-win. Like, yeah, I'm paying 8.6% to borrow the money, which some people might say is expensive, but I can get that money immediately, right? I invest somewhere else, and as long as it makes more than 8.6%, it's a win. And so that's the mindset. It's an arbitrage mindset, which it's just another place to access capital. And out of all the places that you have access to capital, it's your job to decide what's the best option. This can be the best option in certain cases. And so I think that, it's something that, again, isn't super well known and isn't as familiar, we'll call it, because it's a mortgage product that allows you to do this.
Mhm.
But it's really just a financial vehicle that you use. And if it makes sense to use it and get it, then you get it and you leverage it. And if you're smart with how you use it, it can save you tons of money and help, like you said earlier, help you grow and build in a way that you wouldn't necessarily have been able to scale, to do to scale. Um, but again, it's a financial vehicle that you use, and if you do it the right way and if you do it in a smart way, can help really propel you toward what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. So great segment, man. Why don't we tell everybody how they can get in contact with you in order
Yep.
to be able to uh, at least give it a shot, at least look into the first lien HELOC scenario. Again, it's not going to be for everybody, but I know multiple people who have gone through you guys and now have access to the funds that they need in order to be able to
Yep.
grow their wealth.
Yep.
So, how can I? Obviously, I'm going to link the descriptions in the description box for you guys, so be
Yep.
sure to check the description box. But how can our listeners get in contact with you?
So I think the best way would be to go to firstlienheloc.com.
Hmm.
And there's a there's a calculator that you can run, and what it'll do is it's a little bit different than what we talked about here. This calculator will help project with your current income and with your current expenses about how fast would you be able to pay off your home.
Hmm.
Our threshold in terms of whether this is going to be a good fit for someone or not is a 13-year or less payoff. That's the basic threshold as to whether or not it's going to work for you, regardless of whether you're investing or whether you're just trying to pay off the house or whether you're just using it as a an emergency fund kind of thing, right? Um, we want people to get this and utilize it and use it in a way that if they did nothing with it, it's going to be better than their current mortgage. And if it's not better than your current mortgage if you do nothing, then your current mortgage would be the better option, or the other mortgages that are out there. So our goal is to help people figure out and identify, is this going to work for you? So check out firstlineheloc.com. It's a free educational resource. If you go to the First Lien HELOC 101 or Learning the Velocity Banking Strategy, it's on that website. It'll help explain that strategy. Jamel and I have a couple of videos on that strategy as well,
Mm-hmm.
which will probably do a really good job, I believe, of helping you learn about that too. Because the strategy is sort of the strategy is really what we teach. The strategy is what we sell. We don't monetize the education for that, but
Mm-hmm.
that's really the whole idea of what we do. And then if you go to the calculator, you put in your income, your expenses, the amount that you owe on the house, to try and figure out how fast would you be able to pay off the house. That will help you really um, identify, right, whether you're in the category of people that this is going to extremely benefit and help, or if you're someone that maybe it won't be the option for you. And so either way, there's nothing wrong with either one. But to I think I'm not someone who's bashful with teaching this to everybody. I know for a fact that this financial vehicle just naturally won't be the best fit for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that claims their idea is the absolute best for everybody you're just jaded. I'm sorry. Like,
Yep.
there's no way that one person's idea is the absolute best for every single person. So the reality is that this is the best option for some people, and I want those people to get it. But that involves learning and trying to figure out what that looks like. Once you run your numbers with the calculator, you can book a call with one of our team members at First Savings Bank. And I think Jamel will probably have the link to use that you can book with us too. First thing to do though would run your numbers with firstlineheloc.com, see what it looks like. If it works out, if it's a great fit for you, then book with our team, and we can help solidify and confirm that it is a good idea for you. We can confirm what you find with the calculator, and can help get you into it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna link all the details in the description box for you guys. Be sure to check that out. Another important point that you mentioned that I just wanted to address. You said something about it not being for everybody, and anybody who says that their idea is for everybody is basically lying to you.
They're
Right?
lying to you.
They're
Yes,
lying
I
to you.
agree.
I
and
100% agree with that, and
and
I'm opposed to
people,
real estate.
that's how people, I think about that a good bit. And your leaders, right? And when I use the word leader, I'm meaning someone who other people follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other people look for strength and decisiveness
Mm-hmm.
in their leaders. And one thing that I think certain leaders do, and they're passionate about what they do, they are committed to their philosophy and their idea about how to live your life, or accomplish something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an incentive for leaders who want to be strong to say this is the best for everybody. And I understand why. I get it, right? But that's not true. And so what I hope to do is be strong and convicted, and not that I'm on this goal to become a monster leader, but if I'm going to talk about something and claim something, right? I know how this works, and I have seen thousands is the right word. Thousands of people get this loan and completely change the trajectory of their lives. I've seen that happen. I know it's true. But I also know, hey, look, there's a group of people this isn't best for, right? There's something else that's best. And I'm okay saying that, right? I'll dog the amortized mortgage all day long because it stinks, right? It's not good for the consumer
Mm-hmm.
from an interest cost standpoint and a structure standpoint. But it is good if someone needs a forced pay down, right? And there are people that need that,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people that need for what an amortized mortgage does is it creates a priority. It forces the priority for your mortgage payment. This allows for it to not be a priority, so you have to prioritize your cash flow here, which then results in a quick pay down here. So But no, I find that people that are in the forefront of the media and people that are, um, looking to gain followers tend to say things like, "This is the absolute best,"
Mm-hmm.
with the assumption that they're saying it's the absolute best for every single person. There's no way that's true. No way. No way possible. Um, there's only one person I know of who that applies for. It's Jesus Christ. But
Agreed.
other than that, like, there's no one else that can claim that their philosophy is the best for everybody. So,
I think if it's scriptural, man, and that's what, obviously I take a firm stance in that myself. If it's scriptural, um, it's the end all be all.
it
But
is.
everything else outside of that,
Yep.
we don't want to be incredibly dogmatic about it. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
understood 100%.
So,
So,
but
and again, like that's why it's important to learn about this. That's why it's important to check your numbers. That's,
right,
because it may be amazing for you and it may not. It may not be the best option, but you won't know unless you just jump in and take a look, right? Go to firstingheloc.com, read through stuff. Look at Jamel and my videos from before. We really go in depth about the strategy and how that can help people too. Um, Run the numbers to see what it looks like,
yep.
because
Do
it
your
may be
research,
something
man.
that, yeah, it may be something that can completely change your life too.
That's right.
And yeah, that's really what we're here to do.
That's right, man. I take the same stance with real estate, brother.
Yep.
I tell people all the time, look, you know, there's a lot of different ways to make money in real estate. And that's why when coaching clients come to me, I tell them, I'm like, this may not be the best thing for you based on your personality. So
Yep.
everybody wants to be a wholesaler, for example, but is wholesaling really the best thing for the person that's looking to build up cash flow? Maybe somebody's 50 or 60 years old and don't have the energy to put into a wholesale
Yep.
business. It's a sales business. It takes a lot of hard work. People
Yep.
don't realize that.
Yep.
So when I tell people this stuff, I kind of guide them in a different direction based on their personality, and then we build from there. But
Yep.
that's the equivalent of everything not being for everybody. You
Yep.
understand what I mean? So for me, like I said, there's only one thing that I believe is the right answer to it is the end all be all, and that's the scriptures.
Yep.
Outside of that, you know, um, everything else is vanity, man. So
Yep. Yep. I feel you.
but this has been an incredible episode, man. Looking forward to doing a lot more with you,
I
obviously.
am too. Thank you, Jamel. It was great.
And yeah, man, firstleanheloc.com. I'm going to link everything in the description box. I can't tell you, there's been a countless amount of people who've come through this YouTube channel who have been in contact with Anthony and are currently changing their lives.
Yep.
You know, some of them come to me for coaching, some of them don't. Some of them are wise enough to invest their money the way that they know best. But either way, on both ends, they've all taken action. And that's what we're encouraging you guys to do. You don't have to come to me for coaching if you don't want, but at least get smart enough to use or at least get educated on how first lien HELOCs work.
100%.
There's a
Yep.
lot of people who leave comments that have no idea what they're talking about on my channel. I let them ride, but we continue to do these segments to continue to educate you. And the more educated you are about the topic, the better the decisions you're going to make in the long run.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys listening in today. Looking forward to the next one. If you had to provide our listeners with any last words of advice, man, what would those words be?
Oh man. I just I think regardless of what it is, if you know what you want to accomplish, the best thing you can do is a surround yourself with people who know about that and who are succeeding with it, and find places to educate yourself about that particular thing. Right? What does it take to get there? Right? And then you said this earlier. Take action. There's so many people that just get educated, and that's fine. With this idea that the education is going to be the thing that's going to fix it, or that will help you get there. Right? It's the action. It's taking action. It's taking a risk. It's doing the activities that are uncomfortable that you've never done before. Instead of just learning about the activities, you do them. And you know what? You're going to fail a little bit, and
Yep.
it stinks. But you're going to learn through the process. And then I'm telling you, like, people come to me a good bit because I know our guidelines and I know how to get the loans done here. And I tell them all the time, the only reason I'm the one that people come to is because I've made more mistakes than everyone else.
Mhm.
And that's completely true. I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not better than
Same
anybody.
here.
I've just made more mistakes, and I've been through the pain of making mistakes a lot. And so when that happens, the pain, there's positive and negative reinforcement, but the pain of taking action and making a mistake motivates someone to remember and not make the mistake again. And so, you know, there's the education piece, there's the understand what you're trying to accomplish, but take action. Be willing to follow the steps that someone else gives you, right? And succeed with those steps, but be okay putting yourself into a place that's uncomfortable, because that's where true growth comes from. And so that's really, I was initially going to say learn about all the stuff you can, right? But you should always do that. And I think if people are on your channel, Jamel, they're learning about new things and they're interested in educating themselves. Sometimes what I find is that people assume that the education is going to get it done for them, where education's the baseline
Mm-hmm.
of now taking a risk in an area that you've taking action area that you've never taken before. Because if you learned about a new thing, now you have to do that new thing, and that's scary. And I get it, right? But that really would be the, the what I'd like to leave you guys with is, like, taking action changes your life. Do it.
It's amazing when you have friends who think like you. You can speak less because they're speaking for you. I couldn't say that for myself, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly,
100%.
everything I would have said, you said it. I
Thanks.
appreciate
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
man. But
Well,
look, guys,
I really like appreciate you, and I know we've dabbled on that a little bit too, but I find that I do believe that we are pretty aligned in a lot of
oh
the
yeah,
ways that we
for
sort of
sure,
think.
brother, for sure. Hey, man, looking forward to the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Let me know what else you want to see. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys thought about everything that we spoke about in this particular podcast. And
Yep.
we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.